Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm saying that for a specific reason today, but definitely out there. You Skyliners, you Skywatchers, welcome to Vash Sky Parkcast. This is going to be a very interesting show right here because we got so much to go over, so much to talk about. I mean, I literally have like 16 stories I could choose from right now. So I'm trying to tailor this show to our guests and obviously to the wonderful people out there most interested in viewing these theme park stories. I think it's super fascinating. You know, spans the gamut of Universal and Disney right here. Very, very interesting stuff. But I, without further ado, want to have on somebody who is the first time joining us for Vash Sky Parkcast. It is the one, the only Jared from Capture the Magic. Jared, are you with us today? Hello. Is there anybody out there? Well, maybe the first time is coming in shortly. Let's see right here. Let me see. Am I even on screen right now? MJ, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound great.
Okay. I just want to go ahead and make sure that everything is working right there. And I think Jared's coming in. Jared, are you there with us?
Okay. I'm here. Sorry about that. I right before, when the intro was playing, it was skipping, and I was like, "Oh, I need to switch my internet," and then something happened there. But I'm here. Happy to be here.
All right, cool. Well, happy to have you with us there. Yeah, hopefully the intro went okay. I'll review the footage right there because it might be my end. This is sort of new hardware right here, so I want to make sure that everything's working well. If anybody had issues, please let me know in the chat right there. Speaking of issues, by the way, we've been having a little bit of issues with memberships lately. Apparently, all the memberships that we were gifted, or at least most of them, over the last 2 days, well, they have been refunded to the people who did gift them, which was most unfortunate. So I'm currently, got an outstanding support ticket with YouTube to try to alleviate the issue, and we might have issues with Super Chats as well. I'm not sure, but I believe Juliet might have answered that question here with 2 British pounds sterling right there. That's good. Afternoon, Vash, Sky Parkcast, and Skyliners. Well, afternoon, Juliet. Thank you so much for coming on. One of our great moderators over there. Thank you so much. And Jared, thank you so much for being here. Awesome stuff right there. Because you're coming on for the first time, I want to go ahead and highlight your channel. I think it's actually wonderful. I think it's great. Where can people find you out there, over there at Capture the Magic?
Yeah, thanks for having me. You've been on a theme park and with OG and I a few times. Always a good time. So happy to be here. You can find me at Capture Magic everywhere, including social media, YouTube, all that stuff like that. And just kind of talk about the latest stuff in theme parks and entertainment. And then my wife and I have a podcast called Capture Magic Podcast, where it's actually like theme park tips and things like that. So you want to check that out. You can see that over there on YouTube as well.
Oh, fantastic stuff. I love Capture Magic a lot. I think it's a fantastic channel. The brand that you've showcased there, I think is really, really cool. I love being on Park Hoppin', which is just totally awesome. So hey, keep on doing it right there. I think you're doing some really fantastic work, and there's no better person I could think of to have on for some of the topics that we have here, because it's rare that you meet somebody who could span the gamut between maybe current social issues, affecting the parks, which I think you'll know what I mean in just a moment. And also like Tony Baxter and, his stuff right there. You can definitely hang with those and approach those, I think, very, very well. But somebody returning to the channel who is a longtime friend right here, it is the one, the only Ron from Follow the Bradley's Fun, and straight from Germany, it's going to be Erica from Erica and Raph. Hello there, all. And last but not least, producer MJ. We got a full panel today. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming.
Hello,
for coming
Space Rangers.
Yes, apparently that did open today, didn't it? Very interesting stuff. I think those wait times, 60 minutes still on the wait time app there for Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster, whatever they call it.
Oh, okay. I'm going to check that out actually, because
check today.
the carousel progress was down. So let's see.
Right.
Now I'm curious.
So that might have been influencing some things right there.
yeah.
We also. Oh, go ahead.
45-minute wait. 45 minutes is not that bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 45.
It shouldn't.
Down a little bit.
Rides like that one and Haunted Mansion, they shouldn't have a long wait time. They're people eaters. So
I will tell you, every time I see the wait time listed at Haunted Mansion for maybe 40, 45, whatever, it's always like 15. I'm not even kidding.
Yep.
We checked it last time we went in there, and it was exactly like that. It was like 35 list, and then we got, I don't know where they count it. Maybe they count it until you get like actually physically on the ride. As far as waiting outdoors in the queue, at the Haunted Mansion, at least at Magic Kingdom, when you come in, like there's that doorway you come into the first room, that only took 15 minutes. That's what I count, but maybe they're still not counting that as being actually on the ride yet. So
This goes back to an old discussion that I think mice chatters used to have back in the day, where like, where does the attraction start? Does it start when you enter the foyer, or does it start after the stretching room? It's always been this big debate right there. I think Disney, for operations purposes,
mortals.
If the queue line's awesome, it starts in the queue line, but it depends on the attraction on that one.
Yeah, it depends on the attraction.
So where do you guys think the ride starts at Rise of the Resistance? Because I think it starts once you board that first thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, technically, absolutely, but like, you have so much pre-show at Rise of the Resistance. Like, it's
yeah.
I mean, how much time do you spend in pre-show at Rise? It's like at least 20 minutes, right? Like,
I think
it is. We timed it the last time we went. It was like 20 minutes for us once you're in the hangar and before you kind of get on the whole main ride. So Yeah.
It was really fun. I did the solo rider, single rider line one time, and it was just really weird. It was like a 5-minute wait, and then all of a sudden this cast member comes to get us and takes us through this awkward backstage area into the room with Ray. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. but it was great.
There were some really interesting operational things going on there with single rider and how they were trying to facilitate that, at least at Walt Disney World. They never did at Disneyland, which I thought was profound. But they did do something at Disneyland, and that was bring back Paint the Night for the 70th anniversary celebration over there. Well, now the celebration is just about, they usually go for 18 months, right? So we're kind of hitting the 1 year mark on that, I suppose. But they had a little trouble there with their recent performance of Paint the Night. Here you go from Walt Disney World News Today. Video, guest jumps on Paint the Night parade float during performance at Disneyland. This by Alice Kennedy over there, April 6, 2026. A guest jumped on the Cars-themed Mac float during Paint the Night at Disneyland. The incident was caught on video. That's no good. The Cars Electric Roadway Jam is one of the first few scenes in the Paint the Night parade. In the video, a guest is seen jumping out of the crowd and onto the step of the passenger side door. The guest poses for a quick photo before jumping off and joining the crowd again. The parade comes to a stop for several moments before a security team member enters the frame. According to the poster, Disney did find the person who stopped the parade, and you can see right here what that looked like. I want to go ahead and give a shout out to the person behind this. I think it was King B. I'm going to have to load up the Instagram, folks. Sorry about this. I usually have this up before. Yeah, King B Vision, just to make sure that we shout them out. Here you go. I'm not going to play the music just because I think it's copywritten, but you can see right there. That's no good. No. Do not do this. This is terrible. And you can see the Mac float actually stopped right there, so that's no good either. Jared, I'll go to you right here. There's always been a certain level of unruly behavior, right, from guests and people doing things that they're not supposed to do. But I will say the frequency, I think, of these specific issues seems to be going up a little bit. Maybe that's just the onset of social media, or do you think there might be, some kind of breakdown in society going on? I know it's a big question, but go ahead. What are your thoughts?
No, it's a good point, because I think on one hand you could say everyone has cameras now, so anytime something happens, you see it. And then it gets put on social media. That's an argument. But then at the same time, I think more people do it because of that, because they want clout, or they want, they're doing some video or something like that. So it's probably a little bit of both. It's probably not as widespread as it seems to be as much, but I do think there's more people that just seemingly don't care about other people's enjoyment. It's all about them, kind of. And I think not to get real in a wide sphere, I think culturally there has been a shift as well, where a lot of people are more just about themselves. And I think that translates into theme parks as well. I'm surprised this wasn't Florida, because Florida man will do some crazy stuff. So apparently it's common on the West Coast and the East Coast. But yeah, I just shake my head. It's just, is it worth getting kicked out of the park to get like a 2-second photo op on something that you could probably just use AI to put yourself in front of, and when you get home, that's just
a good point.
Yeah, true.
That's a good distinction right there. Ron, you're out there in Florida. Have you seen more unruly behavior? I know you used to work at the parks and so forth. Your thoughts and experiences on all this, please.
Well, yeah, at Epcot, when I was working at Epcot, I had plenty of people toss in front of me. Well, that's absolutely gross. But as far as this is concerned, I haven't seen anybody. I was thinking, man, this guy heard about his friends jumping on the Disney bandwagon and really took it literally. Don't do that, people. No, that's not what that means. As far as Florida is concerned, interestingly enough, Universal actually has an experience where I think there's like a dinner experience or something where you can actually get on the float for Mardi Gras and be part of the parade, and it's all sanctioned and it's okay. So
by the way, it's awesome. It's the Mardi Gras parade. We've done it like 4 or 5 times. It's a great time. You get to throw things at people and they encourage it.
Universal is a whole different ball game when it comes to parades and interactivity with the guests, and it's just Disney is more presentational, more show. But here's what I have seen. I haven't seen parade disruptions with like little kids running out in front of parades and stuff like that. That happens all the time. I haven't really seen any guests trying to get on a float in a parade. Thank goodness, none of the times I've been there. What I have seen way too often is here Walt Disney World in Florida, guests jumping in all kinds of water places that they're not supposed to be, whether it's in front of the Italian pavilion at Epcot or in the tons of people jump in the stupid fountain in front of France. I'm surprised they haven't put some weird fencing in front of it, but lots of, I mean, Europeans often, I think, just like literally think that it's okay to dip their kids in the fountains.
I was just going to ask, are they French or German?
They might be, because that happens. It happens a lot. Yeah. So there's those types of disruptions, but as far as actually in the parade, I don't think so. Now, I do know that one of our good friends out there, Jay, has been accused of pushing over a Winnie the Pooh, but I don't think that really happened. I don't think that really happened.
I heard about that. Yeah. I think it's a fun little inside joke right there over there at Park Hoppin'. Yeah. Check them out. Drunk is great. It's very interesting, and this is showcasing the problematic history of this parade as it has come back. You can see right here that in this particular incident, we covered this on That Park Place a little while ago, going over some electrical issues that they had with this particular Little Mermaid float right there. That's no good. Also, too, they had some smoke issues and all of that. It's just been extremely problematic for sure. Erica, what's going on right here? I mean, I know some people are saying, hey, will this guy get banned? I mean, maybe it's possible, right? Obviously, it's a case-by-case basis, and it's for Disney to decide. But there does seem to be, I mean, we just covered, I think, not too long ago, the People Mover, somebody getting up from there, right, and heading off of the exit before that ride actually restart and because it was code 101, it was down, and like restarted back up, but it was only after they had exited their ride vehicles. Your thoughts on all of this kind of guest behavior and so forth?
Well, it's case by case, like you said. I feel like it depends on who's working that night and the mood that they're in. That's kind of That's kind of what I tend to observe with these things. I think it was impulsive, and I don't think it would warrant a permanent ban, but he's definitely going to get reprimanded and maybe like a 30-day ban. But then again, it just depends on who's working that night and what they decide. Because isn't it at the park level they can determine that evening who's working, who's on staff, what they deem as appropriate. And we don't know if he's a repeat offender, if he's done this before and they're tracking him. Those kinds of things do happen too.
That's definitely going to play in, I would think. MJ, I mean, you definitely want to discourage this behavior, right? You can't let this go on. Park ban, like lifetime ban, I think that might be a little bit too much, but I'm not sure. Maybe a ban for the evening, saying, hey, look, you're excused. We kind of have a no tolerance policy with this. That might have been what had happened in this particular incident. Walt Disney World News Today doesn't actually detail what happened precisely to this person there. I mean, what do you think? How should Disney kind of respond to this later on, or should they? Right? I mean, these things happen occasionally with parades. I've noted how many times there's been some disruptions, whether it be parades or otherwise. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, so I definitely think a warning would be appropriate. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that, but beyond the warning, beyond the banning of someone from property, people need to understand that these parades are built with the type of technology that the infrastructure that they use for the ride vehicles. It's you can get severely injured. I believe it was a young gentleman. Is that what I saw? A young man. It looked like a young man, like a teenager maybe, or someone in their early 20s, because, the way he ran and he jumped on Mac the way that he did. That's a facade. You don't know how it's going to hold. You could have easily fallen down, and you could get your clothing can get pulled under one of their wheels. There's so many mechanisms involved. So you're taking a risk of getting severely injured. and you're stopping the show, because if it does get into a halt because you decided to jump on one of these moving operative, machinery, then you just ruined the night for everyone that either came back to the park to enjoy the rest of their evening to watch this magnificent parade. So, it's not just the selfish, movement of, oh, let me pose for the camera, like Jared was saying, like you could do this with AI if you wanted to afterwards or whatever. They even have a photo opportunity, I think, certain times of the year with some of these floats that they use in the parades, but there's so many mechanisms involved with this, electricity, wires, cables, anything can go wrong. And like I said, these are trained performers, and they know what's going on with the machinery of the floats. And I just highly recommend that no one were to ever do that. Folks out there, do not let your children, cross those ropes. I don't actually see a rope. Am I crazy? Because usually
no,
rope, right?
No, there usually is.
Yeah.
There usually isn't, at least for areas in which people can actually sit down and view it. There usually isn't a rope present. There's a rope present in some places, maybe with some nighttime activations, as they call it now in theme park lingo right there, but not with this particular parade over there at Disneyland. Very, very interesting stuff. I just see this more and more now, and I just, I think the clip that we have actually really, I think it's apropos here.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Go ahead, Ron.
I just gonna say, I think we live in this day and age where everybody's trying to get attention on social media, and even if they're not doing it for social media, they've seen it done, and there's enough people in the world, the population is big enough that some people are going to take that as permission to do such things, and we're being brought up in an age where there's a lack of respect. There's a lack of how to treat your elders properly. You see it so much, just regular decorum, even, so much that they've changed languages, and hopefully they're changing back. But, when I was growing up, you met an older man or older woman and you wanted to address them, you would address them as sir or ma'am. You could go out of your way to be polite, to be nice. There was just all kinds of rules of decorum. I've personally watched training videos on all of that. So and I just feel like none of that's really taught, or it's overlooked nowadays. And it's sad. I mean, I think that, you're spending hundreds of dollars to get into these parks. You want to have a really good experience. And, one person ruins that for a lot of people by shutting down a parade, even temporarily. It's just annoying. And there are certain things, I don't think they have this at Paint the Night, but like there are certain parades at Magic Kingdom where there's real animals involved, and you could interfere with that, with the horses and stuff. It's dangerous, and nobody should be doing it.
Absolutely, there's no question about that. Really, really, really a terrible move to try to hop on a moving parade float right there. As a 21 Royal Latrice pointed out right there, you can literally get run over by a Mack truck. That is absolutely true. Being dangerous for a variety of reasons here. Do not do this. Really kind of listen to those instructions. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the right vehicle at all times before, unless you're stopped and you've been asked to, exit via a crew member right there. That's the safety tip there, at least when you're on an attraction. But I would say this similar guidance applies to entertainment offerings, right? Just remain in your seat right there. If you gotta get up for the restroom, that's a little bit different. But you cannot approach these moving parade floats. That is no good, as detailed beautifully by MJ right there. So no good. Didn't like that one, but we had to highlight it right there because, man, it's just. If we can, maybe showcase these things and prevent future incidents, I think we're doing some good. Speaking of doing good, somebody thinks we're doing very, very good out there. Twin Royal with cheese, actually, with $10. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Vash, on 2K. Vash Sky Parkcast is now my favorite channel. That's very cool. Thank you so much for that. That is awesome. We're trying to be, one of the favorites, at least. There are some amazing channels that you could see represented here, like Erica from Erica and Raph, Follow the Bradley's Fun, and Capture the Magic. So definitely go ahead and subscribe to all of them, and hopefully we're included in that top tier list right there. Very, very cool stuff indeed. Jared, we were talking about this a little bit before this show right here. Had to have you on for this one. Here you go from Blog Mickey. We have not one, but 2 monorail stories for you. This was published April 4th here, so when they say this afternoon, now you know the day. Monorail Teal breaks down guests remove windows at Disney World, or Walt Disney World. This by Mike over here. Like I said, Blog and Mickey. This afternoon, Monorail Teal broke down and required a tow back to the station. A reader sent in photos of the monorail being towed back to the Transportation and Ticket Center. It also looks like several windows were removed, likely by guests seeking some relief from the hot cabin temperatures. You can see right there what that looked like when it was actually being towed back. Taking a closer look, we can see the maintenance cast members on the monorail tow as the vehicle is pulled back to the Transportation and Ticket Center hub. A number of windows are missing, likely removed by guests. Windows on the monorail are removable in emergency situations. It's likely that whatever caused the monorail to break down also led to a loss of power to air conditioning. Even if the air conditioning was running, it's not uncommon for the AC in the monorails to be less than ideal. There was also some more information provided by Walt Disney World News Today. This here comes, this here brings with it some maybe more imagery and maybe even perhaps a video. Monorail Teal suffers breakdown on Epcot line. Trap guests remove windows here by Austin Houghton. I believe April 5th, 2026. This is no good. Critical failures are rare on Walt Disney World monorail system, but not impossible, as some guests discovered during this Easter weekend when Monorail Teal broke down. You can see right there what that looked like. Them taking out the windows, no good. Jared, this fleet right here is long overdue for replacement, right? I believe when you look at the interval between, I want to say, the fleet of monorail, what were they, 4s from 6s, right? It was very kind of a relatively short window going from the original classic monorails that Walt Disney World originally had back when this resort opened originally in October 1st of 1971. I think they're like 2 times past their date of expiration, and yet we get these little maintenance things that maybe rehab the interiors of the cabins and so forth, and they try to get a little bit more life out of these. But I gotta think that the quick fixes might not be holding up for long. What say you?
Yeah, I've had this question about the monorails for years, looking at, like, I think these are since, like you're saying, 85, like they're well past their expiration date. And how long can you really hobble these things along? So before COVID, my dad was a Disney bus driver, so he did tell me about like some of the maintenance stuff. And I guess even at that time, the amount of maintenance they were doing on the monorails was very, like, a lot, because they're just so old. But then I've also wondered, I think it was 2019 where Bob Gurr even said they were gonna get new monorails. Like, that was gonna be a thing. He was out there talking about it, and then obviously a bunch of stuff after COVID happened and that got cut. But do you think, I don't personally think Disney would get rid of the monorails, but are they going to be willing to spend, if you do the math on, say, the original monorails and what it would cost to replace these, you're talking billions to replace the fleet here. And
yeah, it would be well over $1 billion for sure.
Yeah,
there's no question.
Disney willing to spend $1 billion on a method of transportation that has no ROI? I think they'd probably be forced to, but there's a lot of questions about, like, what do they do with these in the future?
Well, I mean, I understand you say ROI, and that obviously stands for return on investment for people maybe unfamiliar with that terminology right there. And yes, there's always that application, right? I remember Disneyland's Tomorrowland recently was illustrated, I believe, in the Wrap, maybe it was the Wall Street Journal, actually, if I'm not mistaken, talking about how Disneyland's Tomorrowland did not receive that upgrade that we were supposed to for a while now because there wasn't that ROI attached to it, right? They in that case, they didn't see that there was going to be an attendance increase if they invested that much into it. This is Monorail Silver, by the way, that you're seeing on screen right there. It just recently suffered from a small fire, and I just wanted to go ahead and highlight its problematic history, even in the most recent history. This is, within, I think, 46 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. It just had a number of problems right there. It will take over $1 billion to replace the fleet, and I believe maybe the original monorail manufacturers, I think, may have gone out of business. So they
were sold to a company in France, I think. Now they got the original. I think it was Bombardier, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and they were out of Canada, right?
Maybe it was one of the two. They were sold, and now they're another country. And I also I did a little research into it, like. The new monorails they make don't fit Disney, so if they bought a fleet, then they would have to go and make those fit the new track, which would be additional money to do.
Right.
I'll just say this: being stuck that high up on a monorail with no AC, doesn't sound like a good time. It's probably worse. It's not as bad as a Skyliner being stuck, but it's not a good time. Especially you got to knock windows out, and then it becomes, are you setting up, dominant corners here in the monorail? We're going to set up our own government inside this thing because who knows how long you're going to be stranded up here. My brain goes to those scenarios if things like that happen. Sort of like corners in an elevator, I suppose.
So sure. I have the ROI solution for Disney. Okay. When you order the new monorails, right, and it's going to be $1 billion, you got to make your money back on that, and you can't really lightning lane these things. So you got monitors, you got the flat screen monitors in every single car that people have to face, and they're just constantly running ads for Disney Plus, in which you can simply scan the QR code on your phone to subscribe to Disney Plus right there while you're on the monorail, and you get a huge discount for doing so in the moment while you're on the ride. There you go.
This is amazing. I think Ron actually cracked the code on this. It's like what Samsung's doing right now with their refrigerators, right? Selling the ad space right there. Ads playing on these monorails. You can get it right back.
And I wouldn't be caught down with a Samsung refrigerator.
Exactly, right? It's amazing. I think that's definitely the way to go right here. Look at that footage right there provided by WW Pro and that park place. Very, very cool. Now, ROI, okay. They do charge a premium, though, for those monorail line hotels over there along the rim of Seven Seas Lagoon. Couldn't we think of that as decent ROI for why maybe you should invest in your fleet more substantially?
I would think so, personally. Now, I've always thought, like, if you're talking the Bob Chapek era of spreadsheet management, I feel like they wouldn't correlate those two things. They would just simply think that those hotels would be booked without the monorails, which I do wonder what Disney thinks about that, because I actually don't see a scenario where they don't end up replacing these. It just seems like they're kicking the can down the road. And really the thing that I worry about, there have been incidents where pieces have flown off the monorail and luckily didn't hit anybody. But if it did, I mean, that's a big scandal that would happen. So it's like, is this going to be an issue until something really tragic happens before they're forced to do it? Because Disney's they're not known to be the most proactive company out there. That's the worry I would have with this, of like, are you just waiting for, you're kind of sort of playing with fire here until something does happen that forces your hand.
Has anyone besides me seen the maintenance building for these?
I've driven by it.
Yeah, I've seen it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, I just wondered. It was something. Obviously, I've been, spent time as a cast member. Went to Disney University. I've been by the building on numerous occasions. Huge. I get a little bit surprised. They have what they've done. They've refurbed all of these monorail cars that are really old. Which, to your point, Jared, I think Bob Kerr actually just said that they were like a mass, not what's duct tape. They were like duct tape. They like this particular fleet wasn't even originally supposed to last that long. So kind of surprising. Yeah, the piece fell off the monorail. That's no good. It's weird to me going to Walt Disney World now, where the Skyliner seems like a somewhat more futuristic, if you will, method of transportation than the monorail. You look up at the monorail now, and I remember seeing the monorail in like the 70s and the early 80s when I would go as a kid, and how cool that looked and how, futuristic. But we don't see a lot of monorail travel in the world. I mean, I think there's one along the Las Vegas Strip and a few other places, but it's just not particularly futuristic. It doesn't have that feel anymore, and I feel like I know they're probably not going to ever do this, but I just feel like the entire infrastructure needs to be gutted and replaced with a new track and everything. And that you're really getting up into the billions on that. So I don't think it's going to happen. But if you ever go by the track nowadays, you see all the dark marks, and it just looks old and hideous, and it just doesn't have that beautiful, bright, magical show that Walt Disney World used to have.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, because if you think about the monorail loop over at Walt Disney World, you're talking about the Contemporary, the Poly, and the Grand Floridian. Those resorts are not cheap they're very upscale resorts. I say upscale because the pricing, how much is a room over there? $500 and up. I mean, you could be paying well over $1,000 a night. Do you think a family of 3 or 4 or 5 that are paying over $500, $600, $700, $800 a night want to go into a monorail that has a foul smell? The seats, the doors, everything is just not up to par. They could do a hard refurb on these monorails, bring them up, spruce them up, bring them up to par. You don't have to replace them completely, because that's probably never going to happen, or maybe somewhere down in the future it'll happen. But they have high, maybe you guys can give me a hand with this word. I'm just trying to think about the type of guests that are boarding these monorails that are coming from the resorts.
Maybe a fluent guest is what you're meaning, maybe?
Yes. Like, would you want it? I would rather take the bus, because it's unfortunate, but it's true, because you don't know if they're going to malfunction. You're going to be stuck in there, and in a very small, tight space without AC. And in the Florida heat, that's not what you're paying for. That's not what you're,
Such a good point. Now, Erica, I believe you were going to chime in right there. And I do apologize. I want to go ahead and make sure we feature your voice. What say you on monorails and whether or not they're worth investing in to the tune of maybe well over $1 billion in order to get a new fleet?
Look, it's Disney. You think Disney World, one of the first things that comes to mind, aside from Cinderella's castle, is the monorail system. It's iconic. It's got that nostalgia attached to the name. And they can't just not have the monorail, in my opinion. It's really going to hurt them, and it's aesthetically going to hurt. I think eventually they will be backed into a corner, and they will have to do something. And like you guys pointed out, it could sadly result in something tragic that forces them to have to borrow that money, to do what they need to do. I feel like also this is something that when they were at their peak of the good reputation and the money flowing, they had the opportunity to invest, but they got lazy. And now here we are with their reputation has just consistently tanked since the pandemic for a multitude of reasons. And they aren't profiting like they used to. So now they're really struggling. And the one thing they should be focused on, aside we can pick a bunch of things they should be focused on. But the monorail system being what it is, its iconicness and the expense, I kind of wish they wouldn't ignore it. It's like maintaining Cinderella's castle. It's the monorail system. And I don't care how old it is. I love seeing it. I love seeing it in action. We love riding it. And so that's kind of my two cents. I also question, couldn't Disney, and I don't know anything about how a corporation like that runs, let alone how them with the government isn't, because this is considered like a form of transportation, right? Can they get help from the state of Florida or from the federal government? Is there any kind of assistance that they could apply for or ask to help them afford something like this in terms of replacement? I mean, because I don't know how this, I thought the category, the way this was, I guess like a line item in a way, isn't this considered a form of actual like public transportation, like how it's categorized? I mean,
that's an interesting point, because technically you don't have to necessarily, even be staying at Walt Disney World property or even have a ticket in order to board these particular vessels right here. So, I mean, technically, if you really get wide out, maybe this could be considered public transportation, but I don't think they would be accepted for any grants or anything like that, which kind of like, on the one hand, it's like, it's an interesting idea. On the other hand, it's like, this is Disney. Like, can't they afford their own monorails?
And then they kind of, shot themselves in the foot there too with their relationship. Though, I mean, that's kind of it's been damaged. I'm sure there's been some repairs made in the last couple of years. But the damage has still been done. It's really sad because, I mean, but they have no one else, but they have no one to blame but themselves for their mismanagement of money from entertainment to parks. Yeah. And then just not putting out quality stuff so people actually want to spend money on your brand.
They just to give you an update too on how much it does cost to stay at any of the monorail resorts. The average price, and I'm looking it up right now, the average price for a stay at the Contemporary in June, because I looked it up specifically like this year. The standard rate is $951.50 per night for a standard room. Now, I will tell you this, and we may talk about pass holder discounts later. Right now, there is a 40% off pass holder discount on said room, and it's only $559 per night if you're a pass holder. So you're getting the bargain basement price of only about $600 a night with taxes.
As crazy as it sounds, if you really want that room, if you're really hard up, it might be more efficient as a family for one person to buy a pass and engage in that discount right there. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know DFB actually recommends that. If crunch the numbers, do the math. In some cases, it might be worth it for one family member to have an annual pass just for the discounts. Right. But you really have to do the math on how frequently do you visit Disney for it to really be financially worth it to do that to your family.
Right. And I want to go ahead and bring up some finances here, and then obviously we have some amazing superchargers that we have to get to as well. First, though, I want to go ahead and highlight this amazing graph from Mac that he shared over there on his X account. Definitely, now it's known. Definitely check him out on X. He is awesome. He is amazing. He's incredible. But as Erica pointed out right there, money has stopped flowing a little bit. You can see this breakdown of this is a chart, going over time back in 2014 to 2024. Of every single division as it exists for the Walt Disney Company that generates revenue, right? And it's reflected in these different colors right here. You can see kind of the orange color, the salmon orangish color. That is parks. And down below is media networks. You can see that the media networks were a larger share of the company's revenue streams, right? And so one could theorize, it's like, okay, maybe it's worth investing more into media networks than it is with parks, right? But as parks have accrued so much more of the quarterly and annual revenue for the Walt Disney Company, it's clear that the theme parks are revenue drivers. That is good and bad. Good that maybe an enhanced emphasis is placed on the parks, but bad because they need every single money that comes in to obviously, make their quarters look good, right? So we start to experience these cuts right here. Maybe we don't have, good long-term investment projects actually taking place, like monorails, for instance, because we had to have every single dollar funneled out to the studio and out to other different things to make those financially viable as well. Jared, I see none in your head there. Do you agree?
Oh, completely agree. I mean, you can make an argument that the parks have been subsidizing a lot of, not most of the Disney company, depending on quarters, especially with, the studios are hit and miss with some of their stuff, which is why I think it's really easy for and I've worked for bigger corporations, for them to get very short-sighted and just to kind of assume and they kind of get in this like quarter by quarter mentality. So it's like, well, we need to do this, but we can put that off till another time. Then it gets put off yet again. And then it, at some point, like, do you bite the bullet and actually spend the money to do these things? Especially whenever they're touting all that money coming in, and a lot of that was going to be toward maintenance. I kind of wondered at the time, does that mean monorails or something? And we really haven't heard anything about that.
We have not, have we? That's a very interesting thing. This 60.
Oh, go ahead.
The 60. To your point, the $60 billion tranche of funding that they have going after the parks over 10 years, I think 50% of that, so $30 billion, was what they said was maintenance. You would think that maybe you siphon off $1 billion of that and put out some monorails that are such a big part of your transportation network out there at your flagship resort, that being Walt Disney World. And yet we definitely haven't heard anything about that, to your point, Jared, and we definitely haven't seen that. It's most confounding.
Well, and the price at least they're charging for the rooms, like sure. Ron was saying, you're paying almost $1,000 for Contemporary, and part of the reason you're paying that much is because of monorail access.
Yeah,
it's a really bad first impression when you get on those things. Like, they clean them up from time to time, but you get on those things and it doesn't necessarily scream luxury.
No.
I'm not going to say
they stink. They always stink.
They stink. Yeah.
Some worse than others. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That is such a very interesting.
The worst part of the Contemporary, though, is even worse than that. If you, and I've seen vloggers who this has happened to, and they get really mad about it, and they do a video about it. Is the Contemporary has a section that is not part of the main building that looks like 1970s apartment buildings, and some people get stuck in those. They go to check in. Oh wow, they plan for years in advance. They spent $1,000 per night for the room ahead of time, and they go to check in. And they're like, "Yeah, you're in this building over here. You're not even in a room where you get to see the monorail come through." And you're like, "What is this?" Because a lot of people they don't know. I mean, you see the Contemporary, you see all the shots of it, you see all of the video and the pictures and everything. Nobody ever sees those buildings. They're not certainly not highlighted. Yeah, and they're awful looking from the monorail, and people get real. I mean, I would be miffed. I am surprised they even still have those units.
Are those units aren't some of those units like ADA, like for accessibility?
They might be. I don't know. I just know
every building has to have ADA accessible rooms, no matter which building you're staying in. That's a requirement by law. But
yes,
I just want
garden wing. Yep.
Yeah, but like you said, Ron, imagine going for the first time, unless you're a person that's been going for like years and years and years, and the Contemporary is dear to your heart, and you just love sitting down there at Chef Mickey's or the other restaurant and just sitting there and just watching the monorail go through. To the newcomers, it's not attractive, and it's not screaming luxury whatsoever. So yeah, I agree with you guys 100% on that one.
On the lower right of that picture is the garden wing.
Was it cast member housing at one point? Is what those were?
It might have
maybe.
That's interesting. I never really looked at the history of the garden wing specifically when it comes to Contemporary, but you might be right, Jared. Very fascinating stuff right there.
They're so ugly.
Yeah, in the 80s probably, or the late 80s, early 90s maybe. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and you got to think. I mean, you can retrofit these buildings, but again, when you look at old historic structures before ADA was actually passed, sometimes you get these really kind of weird issues in which not everything is as ADA compliant as it possibly could be. That's very, very interesting stuff as well. I want to go ahead and highlight a couple of super chatters because, man, they have been unbelievably generous, and we don't want to miss any of them and their amazing support for this channel. Here you go from Just a Dutchie with €5.99. Just hopping in to say that I'll be AWOL for a while. That's unfortunate, but I want to share my departed uncle's wisdom with you, and for €59.99. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate that. These are there are only two people who can be truly proud of you, not your friends, your partner, or even your parents. One of them is one is you at 7, full of dreams, and the other is you at 70, full of memories. They are both watching you. Make them proud. Super cool. Just touchy. Thank you so much. You've been unbelievably supportive for this channel, and I want to go ahead and I'm going to try to reach out to you on X right there, so we can go ahead and arrange something to showcase you. I think maybe part of the members only stream. Maybe we just had our first with Vash and Vixen over there, and a lot of fun. A lot of fun. People really enjoyed it, so we're grateful for that. I will say, very interesting stuff. So somebody's reported back to me and said, "Hey, I can't become a new member on your channel. I can be a member on another person's channel, but I can't be on yours." We are having some really weird things happen with memberships right now. We're trying to sort all of that out. But hey, any support is greatly appreciated, and we'll still have those member-only streams for people who are actual members currently. So thank you so much for that. We'll try to get everything figured out. I'll update everybody via community posts and everything going on the back end. To Neil the 10th, thank you so much for your patronage. $5. Maybe they can offer up upcharges to reduce the amount of time stuck on the track, or offer to be stuck above a field instead of the alligator pit. Yeah, exactly. So maybe we can do something about, the atmosphere of being stuck in the short term. Maybe we can do something like that.
Little show in the middle of the monorail or something.
Yeah.
If they did replace the fleet, I wouldn't be shocked if they did implement some sort of pay-to-use system. If they ever do it, I wouldn't be shocked one bit if they did something like that.
I wouldn't be shocked at all either. That is for sure. Jared, I'm surprised at how much resort infrastructure there is that you can engage with without a charge. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see some things. Now, I understand it's the busy spring break season, and we don't think that this is going to be permanent. But remember, the transportation changes related to Disney Springs, and utilizing those services if you're not actually staying. That's been removed from what we understand temporarily, but it definitely made some news and headway there. I can foresee a lot of things happening in this realm, so keep an eye on that for sure. But thank you so much to Neil for that. Ken Reinhardt with the $2. Monorail is the past's transport of the future. So true. But I think it's really cool, though. I think it's really great. Again, to your guys' point, it can be a little bit odor-filled, at least Walt Disney World's current monorail fleet right there. But
they used to clean them more often, wasn't it? Like before, they would actually go in and clean them every night, vacuum and wipe down.
Actually,
back
I think
in the day.
The cleaning might actually be part of the. I think that the weird smell on the monorail that I always get a sense of is whatever they use as a cleaning product. I've always felt like that because I've gotten them on a first thing in the morning and they smell. It's not a bad, horrible smell. It's not like bad BO or anything like that. It's a strange monorail smell. And I think it's something that they use to clean the monorails with that just has that lingering, whatever it is. That's just my thought.
Kind of like your grandma's house. It's got 40 to 50 years.
Don't really know what it's just developed its own scent. Don't they have like a candle now dedicated to the scent of the monorail?
Is that like a personal attack or something?
I don't know if I'd want that candle in my house, though. They're like, it smells just like a monorail car. And by the way, can you imagine if the AC goes on in those thing and the smell that you would have?
I've been in them when the AC just doesn't, like the heat is so intense and the amount of bodies, sweaty bodies that are in that. The AC that doesn't do anything.
When they fill up with people, it's really weird being a local. I live 15 minutes from the parks, from Disney World. So I'm out there pretty often, and I've been on the monorail so many times. And it's just, I have had the experience of being on the monorail completely by myself in a car, and also being on a monorail just packed with people. And it's really interesting just to think of my own experiences of being on the monorail, of how different of an experience it can be depending on the time of day, depending on what's going on in the parks. It's pretty wild. But yeah, it's not too often that they're packed with people, and obviously jam-packed at the end of the day, right after the last fireworks show or parade, or the beginning of the day when you're trying to get out from your resort. But like middle of the day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you can just like get on the monorail and go for a ride into the Epcot line. I have literally got on the monorail just to ride the Epcot line around so I can get into the park and see the park from the perspective of the monorail line, because at Disney World, Epcot's the only park the monorail goes through. It's not like it's actually an attraction like it is at Disneyland, which is, to me, the Disneyland monorail in some ways is way cooler.
Yeah, the Disneyland monorail is pretty cool. I will say, Disneyland monorail, the disadvantage that it has with the Walt Disney World monorail, I guess there are a couple, but one is its small size, but two, we don't have air conditioning. So the problem is that the monorail has to be closed during the summer months, during the hottest parts of the day. And a lot of people, forget about that, which is very, very interesting. But yeah, they do not have air conditioning. When they bought monorail, the Mark 7s, that's the current fleet right there, didn't buy it with air conditioning, so that's most unfortunate.
That additional package, they're just like, we're good. It's not.
Yeah, we're good. It'll be fine, Jared. Don't worry about it. And they've had operational problems ever since. Space Dave 2000 coming in here though with the Canadian $2. Never have a problem with him. Iger only saw the parks as piggy banks for him. Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. It just would funnel so much cash over to that side of the business right there. Not good at all. Definitely appreciate that, Space Dave. And hopefully that changes to Josh tomorrow. We'll see. Erica and Raph over there. Welcome to the Skywatchers. Thank you so much for being a member.
I missed the announcement at some point. And I'm like, wait a second. We have memberships now.
We got memberships.
Hang on a second.
Yes. That's cool that you were actually be able to be a member. So that's very, very good.
Yeah, that was another thing. I wanted to test it. I wanted to see if it would work for me. So it did.
Cool. That's really good. Now, are you on iOS or are you on Android? Like, how do you do that?
I did it through my computer, and it's just linked to, because YouTube is Google. Right. And it's got my card information already in the system.
Okay, because I'm seeing that on iOS, the price might actually be higher, and there might be more complications with that. I'm trying to determine what is affecting us so that we can go ahead and overcome those issues together. But thank you so much for testing out that system, Erica. Very much appreciate you. And Dumb Old Bear coming on in here with the $4.99 British pounds sterling, I do believe. Vashua. Well, thank you so much. If you've been watching me for a while, you know where Vashua came from.
I love that name, Dumb Old Bear. It's cute. It's so like Bear Jamboree.
That's right. It's
Yes, folks, we only have high-class stuff on this show.
That's right. Dumb Old Bear. I love that. That's pretty cool right there. And Space Dave coming in here, detailing some issues with us. I get it on PC and got refunded and reversal a few days later. Yeah, I know. I've been seeing that. Well over 100 of our memberships were refunded, which was quite devastating to hear. Well, not too good right there.
For now, it seems like everyone can do it on their computers or your laptops. Try not to do it from your cell phones, folks, until we get this straightened out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Really, really good commentary right there, MJ, for sure. We've got one more monorail story, interestingly enough. I know we've been talking about the death, but this time, this doesn't really have to deal so much with the monorail, but a larger issue might be at play at Disney. Here you go from WDW Pro over there at That Park Place. Disney Parks brings back, quote, ladies and gentlemen, a gendered language major cultural reversal this April 8th, 2026. Have you been exhausted? I'm going to try to do my pro impression right here. Have you been exhausted by cast members referring to you as friend? Unable to say sir and ma'am? If so, don't thank the Venetians, thank Bob Iger, and a very strange moment in time in which Disney decided to go all in on divisive language edicts at their parks. Okay, I'm going to stop that. You get it. You get the point. But now that appears to finally be coming to an end, Disney Parks has indeed begun quietly restoring gendered language such as ladies and gentlemen to announcements, attraction spiels, and perhaps cast member training. It represents one of the most symbolically significant reversals the company has made in years. Disney did not merely drift away from that language by accident. The company very publicly moved toward more gender-neutral speech during its broader inclusivity push in 2021 and 2022, trying that tying that shift to its internal culture, guest-facing presentation, and cast member guidance. Let's go ahead and listen to what Theme Park Cheetah over there, Green Cheetah 99, was able to uncover here. I think this is going to be very, very interesting. Here we go. Let's see if we can play this and get some audio here for the Cosmo. Let's see. Oh, it's muted. Of course it is. Why wouldn't it be muted? Thank you so much, X, for that. And it's still not playing. Wait, come on. Okay.
Now it's
sorry, guys. I do apologize.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Magic Kingdom Monorail station.
Okay, you can see,
that
ladies
was really
and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, it had to be because we had to actually hear it. But I do apologize for the headphone users out there. Yes, you can hear right there very prominently, ladies and gentlemen, begin that spiel. There's also a second video right here, and I wonder what that actually was. Let's go ahead and play that a little bit, maybe not so much volume applied this time. Here we go, and go ahead.
This monorail will be returning to the Magic Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're sampling, please hold.
So, ladies and gentlemen, featured there as well, not a fluke, as highlighted there from the Cheetah. Jared, I want to go ahead and go to you first because I know Erica and MJ had covered this a little bit on That Park Plus. We can go ahead and expand that conversation out right here. What do you think about this kind of language coming back in? Because we had seen it subsidized with, like, Friends, for example, Dreamers of All Ages. They've had a number of things get around that kind of ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls language that they was so prominently featured at Disney parks around the world. Your thoughts, please.
I mean, it's not surprising given the, there's been, I would say since 2021, 2022, there's been quite the cultural shift away from that type of, I guess you would say, mindset in terms of just applying it to just, even transportation on the monorail, especially in Disney, whenever it's so very, you have princess stuff and you have princes, like it's very gendered in that way. But then all of a sudden, some of the stuff you're trying to have it be sort of just all, monolithic in many ways. So maybe this is Tomorrow kind of, I'm assuming this is the Tomorrow move, coming in here and just saying, hey, we're going to revert this stuff back to how it's always been historically. It's one of those things when you're on the monorail, like I can't actually think, like I'm not paying attention to the announcements because I've been on them so many times, but I think it's just one of those things where it's, it's a good, return to form. Like it's just something I never thought probably 10 years ago to see a headline and be like, oh, we're going to say ladies and gentlemen again. It's like, what? We couldn't say that before? Like, well, apparently we couldn't. So I'm happy to see it. Hopefully that means there's more things going back to kind of how they used to be, which I think some people have some hope maybe in Tomorrow that he is going to return the parks a little bit to some of the things that, especially I would say pre-COVID were better about the parks. But yeah, I mean, maybe this, this isn't a huge thing necessarily, but it could be indicative of more things coming potentially if Tomorrow is kind of, doing whatever he's doing. We'll see what the final effects of that are.
I will say this. I mean, some people are going to be looking at the story. They're going to be elated. Some people are going to be a little bit disappointed in the company. I'll say this to people even disappointed in this decision right here. You got to think, if you're putting emphasis on language like this, right? You're updating thousands of spiels in order to take out, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, something so synonymous with theme parks, with Disney theme parks especially. You're putting emphasis on those things while sidelining some other things. And people might say, oh, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Not this company. I think it spoke to some priorities the company had that were misprioritized. I'll just put it that way. And getting back to, this kind of gendered language right here, I think is a bigger issue. And I think Walt Disney, WW Pro, I should say, really highlighted that out there quite beautifully in his article over there on That Park Place. Definitely check it out right there. Erica, I want to go ahead and get from you. What say you on this particular point right here? Because it's just, I think we do see the culture shifting on this point a little bit. The fervor, I think, is not so enthusiastic as we've heard in previous years, right? Now, I will say Josh Giamaro, he did come out and was the one to announce that the inclusivity key was becoming part of the keys and so forth and all of that. It changes with Disney Look coming. So I don't know if it's Josh Giamaro, but it might be. Your thoughts, please. Are we turning things around here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they are. I don't know I don't know if it's just they figured out catering to less than 1% of the population is just not making them money, and it's just time to shift gears. So they're just solely looking at it from the profits, assessment, not so much any, political or moral, aspect of it. But it seems like they're not the only company that's kind of shifting a little bit, here and there you're seeing shifts. So I'm glad they're returning to form. It's, when I was growing up and even when my boys were growing up, it was, I remember taking my best friend and her daughter when she was like 5 years old. And back then, cast members were literally calling little girls princess. Hey, princess. And that whole day we spent at the Magic Kingdom, we were even referencing her mom as Princess Mommy. And I was Princess TT, and it was just like a whole thing. And the cast members just really fed into it. And it was fun. And Disney, that you you got a whole princess line. That's what makes your money, and I don't know what you did with your fairy line. And I was a cute, with the Disney fairies. But yeah, they are largely very, a lot of us girls, we like our fairy tales, and Disney's, that's just kind of that they've made a name for themselves there historically. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with leaning in to what put you on the map to begin with, in society. It's like, just lean into it. If people don't like it, well, there's plenty of other things in the world that I'm sure they enjoy that they can put their money into.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have viewed the company at around this time when they were making so many changes for a variety of reasons, and also like inclusivity and so forth. And perhaps they do believe that. Ron, we've talked about a lot about the changes to Disney look and so forth, and the inclusion key being added to the set of keys that they used to have right there. The change to the language being used, ladies and gentlemen, being included on the monorail once again. It was taken off, now it's back on. What say you on that? Is the company turning around? And as Jared pointed out, is this maybe a DMR initiative?
It was never taken off the Skyliner, I can tell you that, because I've been paying a great deal of attention to that every single time I go. Again, I will say I haven't paid as much attention on the monorail, whether it was on there or not. I would be very interested as to whether or not I don't think they'll change it to the beginning of Happily Ever After, where they talk about dreamers of all ages and they just do that. But the biggest thing for me would be to hear it from cast members in the parks. If a cast member looks at me and addresses me as sir rather than friend, when I get it when they're addressing a group, because what do you address a group as? They'll say, hello, friends, and I can't get that. But when a cast member that I have never met in my life addresses me personally as friend instead of sir, it really bothers me. Like that. I feel like somebody wasn't taught properly growing up, or taught proper manners. And I'm like, and it's just, I would like to see that training. When I was trained initially in 2014, I had my traditions training as a cast member at Walt Disney World. And I remember the specifics back then of them saying, hey, let's say that you're dealing with a little girl, right? You get down on her level, you bend at the knee, get down on their level, and you can address her as, hey there, princess, or, they would literally teach you to use that gendered language, which, by the way, wasn't a phrase that any of us knew back then. Before the year 2021, I don't think I'd ever heard the term gendered language. That's so weird. I don't know how many people are familiar with history, But this is really weird and bizarre. Going back about 100,000 years or more of all of the human race, there's always been two genders. So it's like, it's nothing new, people, please. There are so many cultures in which even their words are specifically gendered. You might use a different word for male, a different word for female, or even the words themselves. It's such a thing embedded in our culture out of respect for numerous amounts of reasons. And so just to say, ladies and gentlemen, the fact that it's a big deal that we're going back to that, I think Jared had mentioned this. It's weird. It's like, why? It's weird. It's weird to think it's a news story that we're actually having to highlight the fact that we're going back to using what most people, I think, would consider normal language, and only a very small few would be offended by anything else. So, beautiful shot of the tree of life there, though.
Absolutely.
It's kind of presumptuous to always say, like, it's like that old adage of like, don't presume we're friends. Like, it's calling another guy pal. It's like almost like, and it's like, what's your problem, man? Like, when they called you chief or something, you're like, that's a really, like, you're escalating the situation at this point.
Yeah.
So Jared, just to like so the different training that I got in 2021, 2022, when I was working at Disney was, and literally there were powwows about this, like meetings before work where they would talk about, so we want you to try and avoid, terms when you're talking to people that involve any gender whatsoever. So like if you're talking to a group, don't say, hey guys, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I will tell you, working as a cast member, pre 2020 era and post 2020 era was like literally night and day. I felt I went to work for an entirely different company because it was so bizarro world, the things that they would talk about. And I'm like, the number of times I had to bite my tongue and walk on eggshells and everything else. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I've heard from cast members that are still there that there is some degree of change with that, but it is I don't know. I go to the parks now, and I've said this before. I said, when it comes to any employee at any company, if you cater to the people that are going to be offended by everything, you're going to get weaker employees. When I first went into the work world, this is a young person, a long time ago. It was, first of all, we were taught to be respectful of everybody, yes, but at the same time, as an employee, you dealt with whoever you had to deal with in the public or a fellow employee or whatever. You dealt with them one-on-one. You did all that stuff. It's like a different age, and you had to be a strong person, which made you learn how to be strong and to be a better employee, better servant. Nowadays, I just see this younger generation that have what do you call it, the award for showing up generation, or the participation award generation,
right?
They're so offended by everything, and I just don't think they make and I'm talking about across the board, any company, not just Walt Disney World or Walt Disney in general, but any company. They do not make very good employees, and they're not great at customer service. And we need to have that emphasis put back on strength for people in the workplace. Look, if you get offended by something or something catches you off guard, deal with the person directly, or learn how to deal with it, or come up with, like, ignore whatever. Don't be so wishy-washy and wimpy and all of the stuff. You got to be a strong, good person who's willing to serve everybody, regardless of how they make you feel.
Yeah, because there's a certain level of selflessness that comes with customer service or guest relations, right? And in a increasingly narcissistic culture, it's quite short supply right there, which is very, very unfortunate. Maybe Disney was responding to a couple of these things that maybe they felt were going to be problematic in the future. Not sure on that when it comes to gendered language and so forth. I am relieved to hear that some of these things that they hung themselves up on, like for example, like no zippity jaw and all of that. Maybe some of those things might be starting to be eased, but I'm really not sure. MJ, go ahead and leave you with the final thoughts right here before getting to some of our super chats here. What say you on this particular topic?
Oh yeah, I mean, we covered it extensively over on that Park Place, but yeah, I mean, it's a great thing if this is one of tomorrow's ways of saying to the people, hey, I'm listening, you are being heard, we're going to bring the Disney difference, bring back traditions, because traditionally that's how you address people, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's respectful. This is the way society is supposed to be. If you don't like it, don't go to the park. Sorry.
I love that. Well,
that's just how I feel about it. If it's offending you, if you identify as a bird, I mean, just I don't know. It's just such an aggravating thing because it should have never been taken away to begin with. And they realize this now. It only lasted a few years of them having this gendered language. Like Ron said, that didn't even exist. That paraphrase didn't even exist before 2021 or whatever that became a thing. I mean, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone, but this is just the way this is Walt Disney World. This is not, such and such world of place of whatever. This is Walt Disney's world. And he created this with the traditions and the American heritage. And if people don't like it, then they don't need to visit. And that's exactly how I feel about it. Sorry, not sorry.
Well, no, I mean, people kind of forget that history there, MJ, to your point, right? I mean,
and the hard facts
that created America is embedded in the opening speech for Disneyland right there. And people forget how connected this place was supposed to be towards Americana. Traditional values and everything else. So people, it's baked into the history right there, whether you like it or not. So it's definitely worth bringing up here for sure. Thank you so much, MJ, for that, and thank you so much to Juliet gifting one Vash Sky Park cast membership out there. You are now a Sky Watcher. Thank you so much. I think it was Pinecone 6 who got that. So enjoy that. Like I said, we have members only streams. I believe at 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays right now. So that's pretty cool. So definitely get your membership perks in on that one. And we have Space 2000 coming in here with not only a Canadian $2 right here. Magical Express's return would be a good first start. Yep. I do agree with that.
Yep.
That would be very cool. I never... Oh, Jared, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to make a joke and say, do you think we're going to get a tomorrow I haven't been the ally you asked for speech after this?
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
There you go. That's the one. That's the one. Going back to oh, deep cut right there.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
This could be a good year
you got
or more.
A checklist here, and he's already getting 1 point for the ladies and gentlemen coming back. You're getting your checks tomorrow. Yeah.
That's true. I just wish, so many things didn't fall down around them, like The Bachelor, for example, OpenAI, Epic Games, and more. So we'll have to balance out those checks coming in.
To deal with, yeah.
Yeah. Space 2000, though, coming in here, not just with the Super Chat, but also gifting 5 Vash Sky Park Cash memberships, and they were successfully distributed.
Yes, I saw that. Izzo, congratulations to Izzo's place. I saw Izzo got one. I don't know who else got one, though.
I am so relieved to see this.
It's happening.
I can't tell you.
It's happening.
So that's cool. Thank you so much.
I know. I feel like every time I say that, it's like E.T. I picture the whole scene from E.T. It's happening with E.T. and the in the forest. That whole scene.
Yes. Yeah,
I remember that scene. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
John, MKI Train, I do believe, coming in here with the question, that's not okay. Will you go to D23 this year? For me, absolutely not. I am done with D23. I've been done with it since 2011. That's not changing anytime soon right there. It's just, I went 1 year. It was such an incredible experience. I got to meet somebody who is my favorite Imagineer, which we'll talk about in our next segment, actually, and is the reason why you probably clicked on this video, seeing that thumbnail right there. that was pretty cool. Got to see Richard Sherman, Alice Davis before she unfortunately passed right there. Got to sit behind John Musker and Ron Clements going over the Disney Legends ceremony, right, with all of those Disney princesses being honored. It was so cool, but never again.
I have no desire to go. Like OG asked me if I was planning on going. I was like, if I was out in California and it was going on while I was there, maybe. I'm just not big on like large crowds don't bother me, but it's just like I can get all this information on the internet. It's kind of like sporting events. Like I'm not far from Jacksonville Jaguars, and I got invited to some games for free, and I'm like, I'd rather not spend my entire Sunday just like hanging out in a parking lot and then going to watch a game and then be home at 6 o'clock. I was like, I'll just watch it at home. Like it's just
you can watch Jared. You can watch the Jaguars lose anytime. So
exactly, watch them mess it up in the last second all the time.
Oh man!
Every time I hear that, I think of that. What was that television show about the afterlife? The Good Place.
Oh
yes,
because that one character was always talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I haven't watched it in a few years, but that was a whole thing.
I'm originally from Missouri, so I'm a Chiefs fan. So
I'm from Missouri as well.
Hated because which I get because we were bad.
I'm from the other side. I'm from the St. Louis side. So
okay, see, I'm a Cardinals fan. I went to Cardinals games all the time. Yeah, that's still my baseball.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
we may have run into each other at some point in time.
It's possible. I have a Cardinals jersey I'll wear, and I was going there in the parks the other day, and one of the bus drivers was like, "Go Cards!" I'm like, "Oh, you can always tell when somebody like knows Missouri because you wear that. You usually get comments."
My wife and I joke because my wife is from Barquisimeto, Venezuela, right? But here's the interesting thing about that. So I'm from St. Louis, and our baseball team is the Cardinals. In Venezuela, baseball is also very big, and her baseball team is the Cardenales. So we both come from Cardinals baseball team hometowns.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's really, really interesting. Cool stuff right there. Love the sports talk, right? So many people don't know sports. But it's okay, though. I love it anyway. There's been a lot of conversations. There's been a lot of chatter about some hot takes from former Imagineers with the company. We've highlighted Jim Shaw multiple times before. He has a YouTube channel, actually. Definitely go ahead and check him out. Very interesting stuff that he brings to the table right there. But he recently had this X post, which is pretty emblematic of Jim Shaw. The garden in the middle of Future World looks like a standard business office park. It's nice, but just nice isn't good enough for Epcot. Do agree with that. This by April 7th, 2026 here.
I'm sorry, I have to chime in and I have to disagree. I have to 100% disagree with Jim on this. It does not look nearly as good as a standard business office park. It looks. I'm sorry. Just like.
Can we also talk about how clearly Future World was designed in California by people who didn't understand the Florida climate? Because like that area is nice in the fall, but the minute they built that, and my wife and I walked into it, I was like, metal seats and no shade. I'm like, who in the world is going to work out here in a scalding heat?
Now, Jared, hang on there. We do have that beautiful, amazing, full of life and coolness, the Fountain of Nations out there. It's just brilliant. I mean, we do have that. We got rid of that as well.
We got a very.
But if you walk around where the Communicore used to be a long time ago, the real Communicore, if you walk around that, there's a tiny little entrance, and you can get into a little kids semi-water park play area thing that also smells like sewage on the outside.
yes, unfortunately, it's got that sewage smell. Erica, you were going to say real fast.
Oh no, I agree with Jim. It's when they were building it, we all knew what it was going to look like, and we all said, even when it was first showcased, when it was finished, it basically looked like a college campus area. There was just nothing Disney about it.
It's a community college.
Valencia
looks better.
That was one thing. Even when they were building it, our first time seeing it, I told my husband, I'm like, it is so scalding hot. In Florida, there's nowhere to sit to really get out from the heat. No. And in
I
the
wish
evenings,
I could talk to the people that designed this and say, didn't even one of you that was designing this, didn't you have just one little spark of inspiration?
Well, no, and apparently they didn't take a field trip to Florida in July either.
They definitely did not. They definitely did not.
No.
That one little spark right there is what I really wanted to talk about there, Ron, because the guy who created that ride, well, he had some really interesting commentary recently shared at the Walt Disney Family Museum over there in San Francisco, California. If you've never been, folks, what are you doing? You gotta go to the Walt Disney Family Museum. It is absolutely incredible. I understand San Francisco, but it's amazing. Like, it's so good. I spent like 2 or 3 days there. I still didn't see everything. I mean, it's that wild. So underrated. If you are a Disney fan, or even if you're not, still check that out. It is worth going out of your way for. But this delivered here by Laughing Place. Tony Baxter did give a presentation on the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, Indiana Jones Adventure attraction over there at Disneyland. Some people say might be the best ride that Disney's ever done. Maybe that's my view. I don't know. But he had some really interesting things to say. We'll go through them line by line because each one of these is fascinating. Here you go. Disney legend Tony Baxter had some hot takes at the Walt Disney Family Museum yesterday. Quote, just asterisks, I guess. He hates using the word adventure in experience names. This is so poignant because we just had Disney Adventure World open up at the exact same time that the Disney Adventure for Disney Cruise Line did. It's like, guys, how many times are you going to use this word, and why'd you drive it into the ground within weeks of each other, launching these different distinct products? Jared, adventure, it's everywhere, but is it overused?
It probably is overused. I remember hearing that comment and I was like, and then I thought of like Islands of Adventure, Disney Adventure. I'm like, yeah, like you might think you get a thesaurus to think of a different term to apply for the same meaning there. I wouldn't say it ruins it for me. It's probably one of those things where I don't know if you just saw How I Met Your Mother when they're like you point out something that annoys you about somebody and it's like a glass breaks and that's all you can notice is like they're loud chewing or something. This could be like that now where all of a sudden every time you hear adventure, you're like, oh yeah, Tony Baxter hates that. And he uses it way too much. And I agree now. So it's interesting. I mean, I think Indiana Jones makes some sense. He is literally the embodiment of adventure. But,
absolutely, yeah.
Some of this other stuff, it's like, is it really an adventure? Or is it just like an exhibition or what, whatever you want to call it?
No, you're exactly right about that, Jared. He is the embodiment of adventure and the attractions in Adventureland. Okay, that's the only time you get away with something like that. True. Otherwise, we use it way too much. Yeah. I will agree with Tony on this one. By the way, if you don't know who Tony Baxter is, you may not know the name, but you know the work. Indiana Jones Adventure, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Star Tours, Journey into Imagination over there at Epcot, the original version anyway. Star Tours, Splash Mountain, you just go on and on and on. Disneyland Paris, right? All those things. Obviously he had a team working under him, but those really don't come to fruition in the same way without Tony Baxter's amazing influence, legendary Imagineer right there. So to have him kind of share these hot takes, kind of rare, but I have heard he's a hot take kind of guy if you get him in private sessions. So it was pretty cool to hear some of this stuff right there.
I like that. I want more Imagineers with really hot takes. I think that's
yes, I do too. I do too.
I just want the honest feelings from about the past. Now I've been lucky enough to see Tony twice in the last couple of years. He usually does a few days at the Festival of the Arts in Epcot. He will sign his artwork, his Figment artwork, the design. So, and it's kind of funny because I have not really been to Festival of the Arts more than just a couple of days in the last few years. And it just so happens that I am there on the days that Tony is there. As a matter of fact, when I saw Tony, it was right after I had met up with MJ over at Hollywood Studios and then took the Skyliner over to Epcot. And then Tony Baxter was over at Epcot that particular day signing. And so I didn't meet him specifically. I was in front of him, kind of wave and that kind of thing. But he is signing artwork that I did not want to pay $150 for. So, and person who was handling his handler or whatever said I could get in line. I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to bother him. I'm just being respectful, but just pay homage to the fact that he's there, and he's one of the greats. We don't have Imagineers like this today. The only Imagineer that I even know of that I want to say she has, I think her name is Saja or Sasha, and the only reason we know who that is because of the shape language.
And so what we've tried to do is really bring that shape language from the architecture. But like what we love to talk about at WDI is shape language. And we often refer to shape language.
There's such iconic shape language in Spaceship Revetti Attraction. We really wanted to make sure that we fused to that throughout the space.
You Skywatchers, you members out there, there is a shape language emoji that you can go ahead and use. Go ahead and use that shape language emoji right there.
Gosh, you're torturing me here.
Amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I did see Tony Baxter in Epic Universe, and I was there for one of the previews. He had a huge crowd around him, but the dude looked like he was having the time of his life, though. Like, he was smiling, having fun. Like, I would have said something to him, but it was like, he probably had a mob of like 20 people around him.
I would say that the vast majority of people that worked on Epic were former Disney Imagineers. I know one of them personally, and the person who I know told me they were like, yeah, a lot of Imagineers from Disney came over, left Disney to work on Epic.
A lot of those people are probably his proteges, him and other legend Imagineers like him.
If you go to Epic, there really are, you know this, Jared, you've been there, you've seen, like, you see so much old Disney or former feelings of Disney at Epic. You're like, oh yeah, this is like it used to be like this. Ministry of Magic, all the details there, and in the Dark Universe, and just everything. You're like, wow, this is exactly what I would have expected in the 10 years ago. If Disney had opened a new park, this is the kind of park I would have expected. I would have never expected this from Universal, and I'm like, wow, it's just it really is jaw-dropping. So many things when you first walk into Epic Universe.
I think we were just talking about this yesterday on your show, Ron. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, Ron's show is right after Vash's show, so stay tuned. It's going to be great stuff. But we were talking about the lost continent, because if I'm not mistaken, some of those Imagineers are responsible for building places like in Islands of Adventure, such as the Lost Continent, which is like breathtaking. The rock structure that they did, and the little village walkway that they had, and all of that's kind of going away now. But I'm just saying, that's, when you boot people out, and that's the kind of stuff you get. They go elsewhere and they build over there. Look at Darkmoor. I mean, I'm sure some of those Imagineers are responsible for Darkmoor in Epic Universe.
Well, one of the favorite guys that works for Universal, Steve Tatham. He's he was the head guy of Epic Universe Design, and he's a former Imagineer. And that guy is one of the most passionate people I've ever heard talk about theme parks. Like, to hear him talk about it, and you almost get emotional for the guy. I even look at Celestial Park as almost like a modern day Tomorrowland in the way that it is potential with that. It's one of my. It's not a. It doesn't have a ton to it necessarily. Attract. It's got two, but it's one of my favorite theme park lands, especially at night. And it is something you would have expected from Disney 10, 15 years ago. Like, if they would have came with that, you'd be like, "Yep, that's what I would expect." And Universal doing it is very like, oh, like an original land with water features. Like, this is new and different. That you seem like Disney would have done something like that in the past.
It's
right. Amazing.
That Celestial Park, that water, how the water goes from the front of the park when you first get there. You look into it, and you can follow it all the way around the carousel, which is really cool, and then into the big fountain in front of Helios. It just feels so synergistic, and it makes the park kind of feel almost like a living being, like you're inside this venous system where the blood is flowing, except it's beautiful blue, crystal blue water. It's a really cool feeling. My question would be, when you talk about Baxter, Tony Baxter, you talk about the Indiana Jones adventure. Is there any hope? Is there any hope that that level of Imagineering goes into the reimagining Indiana Jones ride that they're redoing Dinosaur to become. What happens with stuff like that? Do we get any of that at Disney World in the future?
So I'm hopeful of this too, Ron. I will say the Imagineers have been quite clear, the current Imagineers, that is, the people who are working on Tropical America, specifically Indiana Jones Adventure, I guess 3.0 now, because we've gotten one previously at Japan as well, that it won't take inspiration from former Indiana Jones attractions. So like story, for example, that might be altered. As in terms of quality, I'm very hopeful that they imbue the same level of quality found in Indiana Jones Adventure over there at Disneyland, that they have that they do that same thing at Animal Kingdom's version of that attraction right there. I'm hopeful. I don't quite know, without Tony, right? Without these guys who really push for that quality, it's catch as catch can, I guess. And there's a reason why so many people have left for like Universal, Epic Universe, etc., right? Because there's a variety of things, but one of the things I've heard was like Jason Sorrell, for example. He wrote books on theme parks, right? He's got Haunted Mansion book and Parts of the Caribbean book. They're so good. There's just amazing tomes right there detailing so much of the Imagineering history and so forth, right? He left for Universal and he just came flat out and said, "Look." At Disney, you're going to have a meeting about a meeting about a meeting. Universal, they just build. That's what they do. They just get out there and they actually do. They make your dreams come true, basically. And so, with that kind of mentality, if it's still present at Imagineering currently, it's one of the reasons why I have asterisks, a lot of asterisks on the new projects going into Walt Disney World, because it's like, are they going to be built and delivered at the same level of quality that we've come to expect from places like, modern Universal and Disney of the past? And that's one of the things I wanted to go over here, because that was just one of the things that he said. By the way, all this footage that you're seeing on screen, by the way, all projects that Tony Baxter led to fruition. Here you go. He does not like Buzz Lightyear attraction, but is hopeful that the recent refurbishment addresses what he views as its faults. He's a big fan of Toy Story Midway Mania. So Buzz Lightyear did open today, this being, April 8th there. And I think we highlighted on that Park Place, it was about a 60-minute wait. Now it's down to like a 45-minute wait as of the last time we checked on the wait times listed there. See a tremendous amount of changes right there, but one of the big things, detachable blasters, something that Disneyland has enjoyed since 2005. So that's a big deal. Some visual upgrades for sure, maybe the implementation of technology. But I will say, when comparing the two, Buzz Lightyear, and maybe even Buzz Lightyear 2.0, and Toy Story Mania, I'm going Toy Story almost every single time. What say you guys?
Oh, I agree. I agree with Tony Baxter here. I love Toy Story Mania. Buzz Lightyear, to me, doesn't belong in Tomorrowland, but obviously it's here to stay. And the old shooting system, I'm a competitive person. I hated that shooting system. I didn't know where I was shooting, and I was just halfway through. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, I'm not messing with this, but I think it'll be better. But I mean, from what I've seen, I think we're going to go check it out next week. So hopefully just being detachable and actually being able to tell where you're shooting, maybe a little bit more responsive, will be something that'll be kind of nice there.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
We can only hope right there. This is when it was going down for refurb and showcasing the new art. There's a POV that Drew the Disney Dude has on his X. Definitely check that out right there, and you should be following him. Anyway, what are you doing? But you can kind of see the original version, how that worked. Yeah, I Walt Disney World was particularly challenging because it's just, you're trying to aim and like you have to like kneel down, stuff like that. That was kind of a little bit of a pain, or bend down, I should say. At Disneyland, you did have detachable blasters, but it's just, I don't know, the feedback, the responsiveness, everything like that just wasn't as engaging as something like Toy Story Midway Mania, right? And so much of that is through like the actual motion of firing whatever you're firing, whether it be with darts or rings and so forth, all that kind of stuff. It's super, super cool. And it changed, like, because there's like a variety of games, it changes up this kind of nice shake up throughout the attraction, right? There's a nice variety in terms of the interactive experiences there, which I thought was really, really cool. But this was like one of the first forays into an interactive attraction like this. And I think it's just been surpassed by modern interactive attractions.
Do we know if you still have to direct the car yourself, or does it automatically now do that? Because that always an annoyance. You had to swivel your car, then shoot and swivel back. Like that was always something that just bugged me.
That's a good point that you made. Maybe they did fix that mechanism, but these rides are meant to be people eaters because they're continuously on a rotational,
right.
I don't want to say the wrong term, but is this ride here considered an omni mover?
Yes.
Okay. So that's another thing I want to applaud, because in Dark Universe, Monsters Unchained, if you guys look at the track record, we're approaching a year's anniversary. That is one of their rides that they have been consistent as a people eater. The wait time is little to none. The majority of the time you walk up, it's less than 30 minutes to get on the ride, and pretty much a walk on, because they're doing
the queue is awesome. You don't want to do not miss the queue for Monsters Unchained.
Oh no. There's no wait, right? Have you guys been checking it out?
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes a lot of times.
Exactly.
Busy day. Yeah.
And that's what this attraction right here needs to be, 15, 20 minutes, just like the Haunted Mansion. They have to keep up with it. They have to retrain the staff, the cast members, to be able to, gear everyone up to follow the rules, follow the directions, so that there are no hiccups, and smooth sailing, because that's the problem.
I've never been a fan of this ride. I just haven't. It's just I don't know.
I think it's for little. I really think it's designed for littles. I don't really think
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that for me, when I go on this ride, I'm reminded of basically my bedroom in the 1970s with black lights and neon posters.
I remember when it was Delta Dream Flight, and then they changed it to this, and I wasn't impressed. I've never really been a fan of it.
Jared said there's nothing about this that says, hey, I am really venturing into what tomorrow might be like.
No.
I look at what is literally going on in the world today right now with the Artemis mission and us going around the moon, and I'm thinking, where are the Tomorrowland attractions that imbue that kind of feeling? Space Mountain used to have that feeling, but it kind of doesn't anymore. And I would love to see a complete redo of Space Mountain to get one of the versions that they have in other countries, which are really cool. Tron, again, they threw an IP in that just still, the coaster's fine. It's a little short, just doesn't belong in Tomorrowland. I will say the aesthetic of Tron externally looks like Tomorrowland, but what it's supposed to represent when you go inside, I'm like, this isn't. Tomorrowland's weird. It just doesn't feel like Tomorrowland.
When we were on that park place, that's exactly what I mentioned. I was like, Tomorrowland just needs a big refresh. It's a nostalgic area. It's one of the opening day lands, but they have Tron, and I'm seeing a track record. Astro Orbiter got a refurb. Now we have Buzz Lightyear having a refurb. The People Mover is pretty consistent. I don't see anything wrong with that.
They just need to bring back Stitch burping in your face.
A whole refresh. A whole refresh.
A whole refresh.
Tomorrowland, like Monsters Inc. laugh for, though. I mean, obviously, that's the first thing you think about Tomorrowland.
I think it's hard for them to theme Tomorrowland because, at the time that Tomorrowland was built, you figured it was conceptualized in what year?
Right.
Oh, man.
Right. I mean, and I'm going back to Disneyland era before, because the concept of Tomorrowland came before Walt Disney World. So when you're going back to like the 40s and into the 50s, there was just so much on the horizon that had not been invented yet. And now we live in a day and age where almost everything under the sun you could think of has been invented. So what else is there going into the future that they could really expand on that doesn't already bore people, that hasn't already been done? And Tomorrowland has just kind of become this forgotten land that now has evolved into not having much of an identity anymore.
It's such a great point.
Yeah.
And to your point, Erica, you mentioned Disneyland, what it was actually themed to, right? It was actually in 55. Tomorrowland Disneyland was themed to 1982. That's what it was originally.
Wow.
And that was the reemergence of Halley's Comet. Go ahead.
What could work, is maybe lean into that vintage era of the future. People do like vintage lands. And I got to tell you, going through the People Mover in those areas where you see, the funny looking lady with the hair thing doing her hair and her nails, it's so 1950s ideas of technology. And I like looking at that stuff. I watch YouTube channels where they have these commercials from the 50s where they're basically home builders and they're showcasing the woman's home of today. And it's like 1950 something, 1960, whatever. And it's these vintage videos and commercials of, what an ideal, essentially, kitchen would be for a woman back in that era. And I love that kind of stuff. And I think maybe if they could just kind of redo Tomorrowland in a vintage way, I think that would kind of bring back its identity, because I'm not seeing how you can create this.
Well, I've had the idea for a long time. Pick an era. For me personally, I would say a stylized version of the 1980s, what you thought the future was going to be like.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You could take how the Fantastic Four, to your point, Ron, where it was like the stylized vision of the 50s. Like, I think because technology moves too quick now to try and stay ahead of it. You'd be constantly redoing this land every 2 years. So pick an era, do it that way. I think that could be really cool to do something like that, where you don't have to try and keep up with current, modern tech, but hey, here's what we thought the future was going to look like, and kind of you can play some jokes in there and things like that. I think that would be cool, and you could actually have this land have an identity at this point.
I think a retro future kind of aesthetic, I think, is a smart way to go, because it's a moving goalpost, right? It constantly changes. You constantly have to update it. They tried with the a fantastical version of the future, that being the Jules Vernean future that you have at Discoveryland over there at Disneyland Paris. I don't think that was quite the catch-all that they intended to be. I think you have to think a little bit outside the box when it comes to this, and a retro future, I think, is most appropriate right there. I will have to break the conversation just a little bit here, because we got some breaking news, guys. This one is a big. Here we go. If we have the thing here. Okay, I think we do. There you go. Walt Disney World News Today. Breaking: Big Thunder Mountain Railroad reopening date actually announced. This by Shannon Ace. April 8th, 2026. Disney has announced the reopening date for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at Magic Kingdom. The coaster has been closed for well over a year. It did not open at all, I do believe, in 2025, which was most unfortunate. Disney shared a tongue-in-cheek video about Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin, highlighting all the comments demanding an opening date for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Ultimately, the video announces Big Thunder Mountain Railroad will open May 3rd. We do have a copy of this video right here, the one they shared. Let's go ahead and listen to some audio on this.
Have you heard the news? Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is gearing up for its big return this summer.
And we're taking you inside the attraction to meet some of the team that's bringing this wild ride back to life.
Cast from across engineering, construction, Imagineering, creative, and operations have been working together for months to refresh and improve Big Thunder, including Steven and Nick.
On the ride engineering side, we replaced the track, the vehicles, and the ride control system. And with all the improvements that we've made to the ride, we've actually been able to lower the height requirement from 40 inches down to 38 inches.
That's significant for families.
It's the same old Big Thunder, it's just more enjoyable.
With these enhancements, Big Thunder Mountain is still the wildest ride in the wilderness.
Because of all of that work we put in, it's just as comfortable, if not more, than it ever has been in the past. I can't wait for opening day. To see the first guest ride, the payoff of all the hard work we put in over the last 5 years is really the thing that I look forward to the most.
5 years.
We've been waiting for this.
5 years?
Yeah, so you could definitely see this project, being years in the making, because you'd have to kind of deconstruct and reconstruct Big Thunder Mountain Railroad from the inside out. I think it's appropriate to bring up during this segment because, hey, guess what? It's one of Tony Baxter's original attractions, right? Mm-hmm. So that's pretty apropos right there. But Erica, I want to go ahead and go from you, and MJ actually. Families, a wider selection of families being able to ride this ride with their little ones now from 40 inches to 38 inches. Big deal, I think.
Unfortunately, the Ron train just showed up because Ron has to go on his dish, and we want to outro him and put his link in the live chat.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's go ahead.
Before you do that, I actually have more breaking news that has to do with this story, Vash.
Really?
Yes. So officially, this ride, Big Thunder, is reopening on May 3rd, and it will be down May 4th, May 5th. Because, of course, has to follow tradition of all the brand new rides going down.
So true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. What do you got going on over the dish there, Ron? We're going to be redirecting to you.
We're going to be talking about the Saturday Night Live controversy that they created. And they didn't create it. HBO casting of a black individual to reimagine the Snape character from the Harry Potter series on the new HBO series, and then SNL they went off on it. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, along with some other pop culture news and maybe some more parks stuff as well. So drop it on the dish right after the Vash Sky Park cast on Follow the Bradley's Fun.
Fantastic, Ron. Thank you so much for joining us here on Vash Sky Parkcast. Very much appreciate your commentary.
Jared, good first time being with you. And,
yeah, you as well.
And Vash, and we'll see you real soon, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron. Very much appreciate you. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad reopening, though. I think that's a big one right there. We'll get back to a little bit of the Tony Baxter stuff, though, because literally he kept going. this was just two things.
One thing I want to add before is about the Big Thunder. I was a little disappointed I didn't see two rednecks talking about how they changed this to meet the Wild West, because I feel like I would trust it a bit more if it had like mullets and just some cut off sleeves.
That's right. That's
right.
Like,
okay, this ride's in really, really good hands right now.
It's such a favorite. And look, when they redid Disneyland's version of this and they put in like the explosive ending and stuff like that, it was phenomenal. Redid the track, feels great now. It used to be a little bit rough around the edges back in the day. Again, ours opens 1979, I do believe. I think Walt Disney was a little bit after that. So, it's time. It's time to give these attractions some love. Hopefully, we'll see that these things will pay off and a better experience is waiting for us on the other side right there.
I wonder how smooth it will. You think it'll be as smooth as Mine Train?
I would think.
Yeah, that's the...
I mean, they changed everything. The tracks, the trains, and the entire... he said it, and I forgot the name of it. The actual, I guess, the ride system that makes it go.
Right.
Whether it's computer or electrical, whatever. Sorry, my brain's kind of mush.
Well, and that's significant, Erica, because that ride system right there, from what I understand, there's some quirks with the original ride system as designed by Disney. I don't believe there was a roller coaster manufacturer attached to it. I think Disney was doing it at the time. They told Arrow before the construction of Space Mountain back in '75 that they were going to go internal with their construction. So I believe it's just after the Arrow era for Disney. If I'm not mistaken, maybe somebody can actually correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But there's interesting quirks in which you can, as a ride operator, you were able to pause some of the lift hills in order to prevent a cascade or an e-stop because of some brake zones and so forth and all of that. It's just really, really interesting stuff. El Toro Orion has a good breakdown of the problematic nature of this attraction there. I think it's 40 minutes. It's totally worth going through for some really great detail on this specific attraction. So hopefully they alleviated some of those operational issues that would have otherwise caused this attraction to go down multiple times. I think they did do some ride system working of Disneyland's version of this attraction. So maybe they also got the upgrade. Sounds like they did. Anywho's, big stuff right there. Oh, go ahead, Erica.
Another little goat. It's cute. I've never seen it before. I don't know why I've never seen it.
They also lowered the height requirement, guys, for this attraction.
Right.
40 inches. What was the previous height? Was it 42?
No, previous height was 40. They lowered it down to 38.
Well, what's the height requirements for Mine Train? I'm just curious. Is it 38 for that one?
42.
Mine Train.
42. That's interesting.
Yeah, Kelly's been going on that since she was a tiny little thing. So yeah.
Wow,
that's interesting. It's even lower than that's great. That's really interesting.
Should be
I'm
42.
getting results that it's 38.
Oh wow, even lower. Well, that's what I said. She's been riding it since she was a tiny little thing. So yeah.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Okay, so they dropped it to the same standards as Mine Train.
To the same standards as Mine Train.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That means the whole family can ride. I would hope.
I would hope. I think that's super cool right there.
Yeah.
Here you go. The most recent, very entertaining wow moment that Tony Baxter recently had was when he rode the Ministry of Magic, or the Battle for the Ministry, at Epic Universe. Now, this is kind of cool right here because we got a photo of him on that particular attraction right there, along with is that Dusty Sage there from Ice Chat? He's always traveling around.
Lopez too, isn't that the NBA player that's sitting next to him? Because he's like 7.
Yes, that was following him in various. He was with him, I think, on the final day of Splash Mountain's closing over there at Disneyland. I saw him with him, and I was like, "Why again?"
I think, if I remember correctly, he's a really big Disney fan. If I remember correctly, that Brooke Lopez is like really big into the Disney parks, but because I know he's got a twin, but I think one of them is.
That's cool. He's very tall, by the way.
Yes, very tall.
He is massive. So it was very interesting seeing him, dwarf Tony right there. But I know he really did like his time at Wizarding World. And it's interesting because Tony actually worked on the initial concept for Disney's version of the Wizarding World to sell to J.K. Rowling. That didn't go well. Right guy, wrong time. That's the one. And then finally, Splash Mountain is the attraction that he wishes that they would bring back the most. And I mean,
fights? I love it.
Right. What's the surprise there? He was famously there, like I said, on the last day of Splash Mountain's opening at Disneyland, and he actually collected water from that event right there. Oh, nice. Such a big fan, and look, I haven't been able to detail his history with Tiana's By Adventure, because you'll remember, Jared, I think you'll remember this. Initially, when Tiana's By Adventure was first announced, they said that Tony Baxter was going to be involved. Mm-hmm. And then we never heard about it again. The reason why is because as soon as he saw what they had in store for Tiana's By Adventure, he's like, no, thank you. Like,
I had heard very similar things as well. Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, he, even back then, he was like, well, why are you not necessarily featuring Tiana in a dress and so forth? And why are you going with this, you know, sequel chapter story? Why don't you just, you know, reenact the moments from the movie? And he couldn't quite get behind the use of not using, you know, the Shadow Man or Dr. Facilier in that attraction. You know, obviously he comes from an era in which they liked thrill, right? They liked, you know, really providing that level of excitement and thrill to their attractions, and it's something that Tiana's By Adventure certainly lacks and doesn't have any of the thrill associated with its predecessor, that being Splash Mountain. Your thoughts on this particular point there, Jared?
Well, I've tried to ride Tiana's 3 times, and it's broke down all 3 times, and I had to get escorted off. So I've never actually ridden the entire attraction. From the times I've ridden it, it's got a little bit more dead space in there. I wouldn't say, you know, from what I've seen, I think Splash Mountain is a better attraction, but I wasn't like a Splash Mountain, you know, like I rode it sometimes. It wasn't like it was my favorite ride, but you know, the things he said about Epic Universe, I think is really interesting, especially like you're talking about Battle of the Ministry, because I mean, that ride has had its issues because it's such a high-tech ride. I do believe there was multiple ride manufacturers that worked on that. I know they were having a lot of, it was actually like the computer program that ran the cars, and I don't know where it's at now, but they were having some issues on how many they could run at a time. But that ride is amazing. I mean, the scale of it, the immersion that it does in there. I mean, it is really a feat for theme parks. And so I was, when he said that, I was like, I agree. Like I would say the same thing about Monsters Unchained. I think those are the best 2 new rides I've seen in a theme park.
For sure.
Probably, since Rise of the Resistance. So what's funny is more, Tony Baxter talks, I'm like, I think we'd get along pretty well. I feel like we'd have a really nice lunch or dinner if we hung out and just talked about theme parks. I'd be like, I agree with Tony Baxter on just about everything.
I've heard he's so down to earth, and he's pretty open about his opinion. He doesn't, mince words there. He doesn't have a social media presence, but he doesn't mince words when talking about this stuff. So that's pretty cool. I have just heard so many different things about his questioning of the Tiana's Bayou Adventure attraction and how he just simply did not agree with the direction that they were going. In fact, this is a new one I'd never heard before. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. I'm not sure. It's hard to suss these things out on social media. But here you go. Somebody included this little tidbit right here. Matt Ferratu from JP Adventurer said, someone told me, quote, when I met Tony at Epcot in January, he said his original idea for Tiana's would have been about saving Mama Oni from the other side, mentioning that the dip drop into the former Laughing Place would have been the more spooky side of the ride. We were robbed. That's really interesting right there.
Well, and I agree with him about I've always had this beef with Disney in terms they're going to use IPs. It's like, okay, fine, you want to use IPs, but instead of just taking the stuff from the movies and the things that like what Universal does, I think the Wizarding World is a good example of that. Like Diagon Alley and Hogsmeade, like, these are the things you saw from the movies. We're just going to give those to you. You can experience them firsthand. And so it's like Tiana's, instead of just giving you the stuff from the movie, we're going to tell this extended story. So it's almost like they want to still tell original stories, but it has to be in an IP. And I just think Tiana's in particular, it just doesn't work really well. I mean, it's just sort of like, not the iconic things about it. And it's got I would say there's a lot of dead space in that ride that were previously you didn't have that with Splash Mountain. So I think it was just, it's okay. Like I said, I haven't experienced the whole thing myself, but I think his version does sound a lot better, a little, spookier, and not having Dr. Facilier in the ride, apparently due to the voodoo stuff, but he's still featured when it comes to Halloween. I've always thought is just weird, especially I think they're going to feature him in Villain's Land. So it's like, you're not going to feature him in the movie or the IP that he's actually associated with.
Right.
Seems like a big miss, at least in my opinion.
It's a huge miss. And we've gone over, at least historically with that Park Place and other avenues, about why Dr. Facilier wasn't included and the aversion towards voodoo and featuring voodoo in any way in the parks and so forth. And they wanted an accurate, kind of authentic, experience for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and there were certain emphasis placed on things other than story. And this kind of goes back to our kind of gendered language comment, right? If you're placing the emphasis or prioritizing other things other than story and all of that, well, you might get mediocre experiences or attractions. And I think Tiana's Bayou Adventure is kind of the victim of that, which is very unfortunate because I think it could have been amazing if in proper hands and maybe even properly offered at a certain time. Because I heard Tony was actually receptive to the idea. He's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and let's go through this changeover. And then it was like, no, this is crap. And the people doing it crap, and the reasons why are crap, and I don't like that too much at all.
Not listen to Tony. Like, if you're an Imagineer and you got Tony Baxter there, and he's like, I got a better idea. Like, how do you not then just acquiesce to Tony Baxter? That's the part that gets me. Of like, it seems like current Imagineering, and maybe that's changing, but at least for a time period, it was like you were looking at these great Imagineers and not really taking their advice, even though they have all of their blueprints and handprints are all over the parks of the success they've done. And like, why would you not like learn from that? I find that baffling.
And they gave him, from what I have heard of the conversations, they gave him the Brie Larson line, which, if you remember her, she said, it wasn't made for you.
Right.
I will give Brie Larson credit in the recent era, right? She's really been quite a wonderful person, as it's turned out to be, which is very, very good. But they gave Tony Baxter you weren't the prime demographic. That's why. That was the reason given as to why they weren't actually, receiving their input or I should say acting on their input, right? Which is a real shame because a lot of Imagineers told them, this ride has inherent flaws. And now those inherent flaws are things that we hear every day on social media when talking about that attraction, which I think is really, really interesting. And Tony Baxter was the guy who said on a Disneyland 50th documentary, hey, if you replace a ride, you got to do it with something better. You can't do worse, because you'll always hear about the better attraction, the former one, when you do something that's not doesn't live up to expectations.
So they basically told him he was old and not relevant. Is that what they told him?
Yes, that's exactly what they told him, and it is.
I mean, that sounds about
crazy.
the modern day Disney. That's because they're don't even get me started.
Right. Now, Erica, you had some commentary on height requirements and so forth that I thought was really, really profound and interesting. That might be relevant to the Big Thunder discussion right there. Another Tony Baxter attraction, as you might know. Please go ahead and share that if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, just saw a comment in chat, and I was commenting about it in our back chat. I have to be careful here because I can't be revealing.
Only do what you're comfortable with, because we don't want any problems, right? Like, I got you.
Basically, when it comes to height requirements and coasters, my understanding, I'm not going to say from who, but my understanding is a little person, for example, though they may be, the height requirement may not be there, but the body structure is, because they will probably have a matured skeletal structure. A lot of coasters, what we see and what's advertised to the public with height requirements, we're actually not seeing everything. If we did, it would scare the public and they would never ride a coaster. So employees that are in charge of any coaster at any theme park, they are trained on how to make these decisions. So you have a scenario of a child versus maybe a teenager or an adult that is a little person. The difference is that the child's skeletal structure is not fully developed. Their bones are still soft, and there's the high risk that if they're going to go on a high impact attraction, it could crush their chest cavity, versus even though you have another person here who's, essentially short through no fault of their own, but they have a matured skeletal structure, so they can handle handle the speed and whatever forces of that attraction. So these are things that you don't really hear about out in the open public. And from what I've been told, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Very well said. Thank you so much for that, Erica.
Yeah, that's
perfectly said.
So there are instances where employees have had to make decisions like giving special permission and approval for a little person to ride an attraction, because the understanding is, you're an adult. So
that's correct.
There's a lot of science, so much science like that goes into coasters that, and it's really getting into the weeds, and they're just not, you can't expect any company, whether a theme park or manufacturer, they're just not gonna tell.
And for all rides, ladies and gentlemen.
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
Perfectly timed there.
I love all your little theme park
clips.
Clips, commentary.
Listen, people,
it's so freaking cute. It's
we're out of coffee.
Theme with your channel. I feel like I need a Mickey bar and popcorn.
Everyone needs to know.
But I do have my Starbucks Mickey.
Early in the morning. The coffee is out. Are you guys alive, Jared? Or where's your coffee? Where's your caffeine? Everyone.
I had 2 cups and I had a pre-workout. I'm pretty good for the next 3 or 4 hours.
You're caffeinated. You're caffeinated.
Yeah.
Well, the caffeine here is running really low. I mean, Erica, we've been on that Park Place. I mean, what time is it in Germany?
It's 10:08 p.m. over here, and this is water. I'm just.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Erica, because she is up all hours of the day. the caffeine, dearest.
Over there at Hanging with Erica and Ref, we actually have to get over to Ron's channel because I know he's just starting right now. We're a little bit late, so please, Erica, go ahead and highlight yourself right there. What you got going on over there at Brood Banter and Hanging with Erica and Raf, please?
Yeah, so the channel name is Hanging with Erica and Raf. That's me and my husband, and we are expats, early empty nesters. Have been in Germany for the last technically 12 years. And there's a lot of moving parts behind scenes we can't really discuss right now, but eventually we will be able to let you guys know what's going on. In the meantime, we started live streaming in January on Fridays. We call our live stream Brood Banter. So you bring your coffee, tea, beer, your brew, and we just sit around with friends. And we literally just, Vash, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. We just sit around and shoot the shit.
That's okay. I'll give you this.
Talk
okay,
about
just the one
anything.
time.
It's not really. There's no particular niche. It's just hanging out with friends, having a good time. We just talk about anything and everything under the sun. It's Friday. It's about ending the week, picking up the weekend, and it's about laughing. We've got to laugh in this day and age. So I usually find all kinds of funny articles and clips for us to make fun of and just have a good time.
That's very, very cool right there. And
there's a few people asking for that link, Erica, if you don't mind. If she's still a mod, can you drop your link in the chat there for everyone?
I've got her link right there.
There we go.
At the top right there, the comment or at the bottom of the chat right there. And also too, all the links to everybody that you're actually seeing on screen right now, all those are in the description. Yay! So they're always there, including Capture the Magic over there and what Jared's got going brewing on his channel. Please tell us what people can expect from Capture the Magic in the coming days.
Well, it's a lot of me just rambling about current news stuff, probably some of the things we talked about today. I kind of take the perspective of just giving my opinion on what's going on with some of this stuff and talk about entertainment stuff. So we went and saw the Mario movie and talked a little bit about that in the last live stream. So mostly just like theme parks, entertainment, stuff like that, but just try and keep it to where it's a good time. Don't take yourself too serious and just, have some fun. We have some live streams over there. We've got theme parking every 2 weeks. Vash has been over there before. We got Orange Grove 55. So it's always a good time. Just hang out. And it's kind of like what Erica said. We have topics, but we go on side quests a lot, which I
Let me just,
because I can talk about theme parks, and you're like, hey, we just found a sphinx under the Sphinx in Egypt. I'm like, let's talk about that for 3 hours. That sounds like a great time.
That's how it is with us. I will have topics in this shoot, but I swear we never get to them because we just immediately start rambling about something else.
Yeah, it always
so funny.
That's what I'll tell OG. I'm like, I'll have 2 or 3 topics usually because I've tried to have 5 or 6, and we get to only half of them just because you never know what, or the chat will get you on a side quest. Either way, it's a good time. So it's just, theme parks are supposed to be fun. I don't take them too serious and just, give some opinions and just trying to have some fun. And I had the podcast, my wife and I have it's Capture the Magic podcast. So it's like Disney World, Universal Studios, like tips and news and things like that. So you don't always have to listen to just me. My wife's much smarter than me, so you can listen to her talk as well. So she's been going to Disney like her whole life. So she knows the Disney parks inside and out, things like that.
Yeah. I know that.
Awesome stuff. And we also have the amazing producer MJ right here, where you can find her on X and Instagram. MJ, please plug away.
Oh, yeah, I'm on X and Instagram, and I made it easier. So in my little link, where you put your bio, it shows the shows I'm on so that if anyone is interested in knowing where I'm going to be at next. I also have it updated on, I'm not a YouTuber, but I have a YouTube channel, and I also posted on there the shows that I'm on, and I have to start doing a little bit, things more different as I get invited to more and more channels, and it's all good things. And I'm just so glad to be here. It's a great day. It's a little rainy over here. It's thunderstorming. I don't know if you guys can hear this thunder clapping that's happening behind me, but yeah, because I'm sitting near a window, which is not recommended during a thunderstorm. But yeah, I am.
Noise is all. It's just background noise for the stream.
Yeah, it is. I just like ASMR, which I feel like ASMR is. Anyway, here I go, Jared. Squirrel. Yeah, I'm on X and Instagram. Thank you so much. It's been a great day being on all of these live streams with you guys. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here, being Vash's right hand, gendered language. So right hand woman. Is that much? Right hand. Usually it's right hand man. Woman. Yeah, right hand woman. Yeah,
right hand woman is just fine right there.
There you go.
Oh, it's been fantastic doing these shows with you, MJ and Erica and Jared. It was really a distinct pleasure and honor to have you on this channel. Very, very cool stuff right there. Definitely check out MJ over there on her X account. I got a couple of questions right there, and I will send you on over to Ron. I want to be respectful of him and his show, obviously. Space Save 2000's Vash Sky Podcast. Is it just me, or do the older generations of Imagineers seem more down-to-earth people? Yes, I do believe so. Yeah. I think they were very much in tune with what the audience wanted, right? Because remember, the first generation, they were just doing this stuff by the seat of their pants. There wasn't really a written formula or playbook or whatever. They were establishing the theme, or I should say the medium, which is theme parks, right? So people in the second generation went as kids to those theme parks and thought, if I were to do it, what would I do? They grew up as fans of theme parks, and that's why I think their quality speaks for them.
That is so true.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff right there. Yeah. Awesome. Troy coming in here. I am fluent in triangle, but circle is my native language. I love that right there. Talking about shape language, which I appreciate all of the shape language emojis in that chat earlier. Very, very cool stuff. Yeah. Sean, the artist formerly known as John, says, do you guys still sneak into emergency exits to see movies? I have never engaged in such practices. What are you talking about?
You know what we did in the 90s? Yes! We would buy one movie ticket, watch a movie, go to the bathroom, chill for a bit, and then sneak into a theater, and we just watch movies all day. Theater hop.
Listen, me and my friends never figured out we could just walk straight in, not tell anybody a soul, go right into a theater and watch movies. Never did it. Never did it.
No, the 90s, and there's no evidence of that, folks.
No, there's not. There was no phones with cameras, and whatever supposed cameras were on the theater, the security didn't care. They didn't get paid enough to care.
Yeah. Indeed. There is a new clip coming to the channel most recently here. I think or very soon. It's going to be this one.
Time to be turning around. If only you could.
There you go, right there. I think that's pretty special, pretty good. You can watch out for that. That's going to be awesome. And Aldo Casabona giving you, MJ, credit for going from guest star to producer in 2 months. I don't know if it was that short, but it was very, very short right there.
He's probably reminiscing on the T3PO days. So yeah,
right,
I went from there to here to there to there, and you're producer, so that's pretty cool stuff.
No, but I thought it was like 6 months or something. Anyway, it was very, very short, and she has just taken on the role so well. So all the credit in the world to MJ right there, going from T3PO to now Vash Sky Podcast and that Park Place and Pro and everywhere else. So cool stuff. Love that. And let's go ahead and get out of here. We're going to have a show tomorrow on at 7 p.m. Eastern right there on this channel right before Marvin. So that'll be pretty cool. And I'm going to be with OG very, very shortly talking about maybe some new rumors popping up regarding Zootopia and Avatar. Avatar and DCA coming over there in Hollywood land, but maybe not for long. Maybe Zootopia will replace it. Very, very cool stuff. Let's go ahead and get you on all out of here. Remember, folks, the sky is the limit.